Hello and welcome to our show, Film Talk with AJ Dean. I'm AJ Dean, your host, and tonight we have a spectacular, very special guest, special VIP in the house. We have Nancy Puetz, who is the founder and creator of TIFF, the Tennesse International Indie Film Festival. Welcome, Nancy. How are you?
Thank you very much for having me. I'm great.
This is
You're well too.
This is such a treat to have you because, first of all, I want to give a special shout out and recognition to Kimberly Skyrme, casting director, C.S.A. She is phenomenal and we love her so much. And she referred you to us, right? Isn't that right, Nancy?
Yeah, she's a dear friend, and we haven't had a film festival without Kimberly since the very first year.
And she's the very best. When she's there, you have a golden gem to make the festival even better. So we love our Kimberly. Thank you, Kimberly, for casting this episode. And we absolutely, I always say this, but it's true. We love her to the moon and back. Isn't that right, Nancy?
I do. I'd fight anyone who thought any different. Yeah, I adore her.
It's so true. It's so true. Well, thank you again, Kimberly. And let's get right into it because we've got a lot of fun things to talk about. But first, I want to talk about these two interesting movie posters, The Allotment and The Remaining Few. Now, what catches my eye, what I love about these is they're aeronautic. They're airplane oriented. And so tell us a little bit about each one, Nancy, if you will. Take it away.
I can, as much as I can, about the film that's in project right now. It is getting ready to be in production, and that is The Allotment. The Allotment is a movie that has to do with the idea of longevity. They believe, doctors at Stanford University believe that a person is now alive who will live to be 150 or more. It's pretty amazing. And when we first started working on the film a couple of years ago, as in the writing stages, we started talking to different people as with the idea for the film developed. We really wanted to get an idea on what longevity meant. And it's really been interesting. So the movie has a little bit of science fiction that will someday become soon reality, and it has a love story involved. And it's a really interesting film, and we're going to shoot it in Louisiana.
Fabulous. And I see in the poster, first of all, what a great concept and great story. I love in the poster, you've got lightning in there and you have two people walking away from this. It looks like an ultralight. It doesn't look.
It's a glider, and the glider, it's really came out of the idea that my partner in Airworthy Films, he's a pilot and he's a worked with American Airlines for over 35 years. He was one of those people that was sometimes hired after he retired to deliver certain kinds of planes to, in fact, other countries around the world as they would buy a retired airplane from the United States. So very interesting, which means that many of our films entail something to do with flight or aeronautics at the very least. And this sailplane here landed in a field because of the lightning, and the pilot, as he walked away, then the story develops from there.
It sounds so intriguing. And, I love a good airplane movie. Do you remember the airplane movies in the 1970s, I think, right? With even Priscilla Presley was in one of them, I think, right? Wasn't she? Or
I think you could be right, but it makes me think of this guy, and I can't think of his name.
Or George Kennedy. Maybe it was George Kennedy, right? Maybe she was in one of them with him, the comedies.
But there were other things. There was a Concorde movie, and there was a movie about people who had delivered, kind of did money laundering through the use of a plane. I love it. It's exciting. Up in the air is really an exciting thing.
Yes, I want to correct myself. I think it was Karen Black, rather.
Oh,
Karen Black in Airplane, right? Is that right, Nancy? I think so, right?
You're probably right. And I I met her a couple of years ago at Cannes, and we had a film that she was a part of at one point. So yeah.
Wonderful. Well, we send our best wishes to her as well. What a treat to have met her. And she's a fine actress. And was that a lovely encounter?
Very lovely. Yeah, she was absolutely lovely. Um, there's a lot that goes on at Cannes at the American Pavilion, and you have a chance to really interface with people that you don't ordinarily see walking down the street. You have a chance to have a conversation face to face, and sometimes make a friend out of it. So it's really a great opportunity. That's one of the main reasons I go to Cannes, is for the people that I've met there and can continue to meet, so that I can then connect them to other people within the industry, um, where they can get a mutual appreciation.
I love that about you. You are a connector, just like Kimberly. No wonder you came together and met each other, because like goes to like. That great energy, that positive, optimistic energy of, and you know what's behind it is love, right? LOVE, the love for film, the love for people. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. So I'm just so thankful to know you, Nancy.
You, my pleasure to know you as well. I appreciate this opportunity very much. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, I'm enjoying this very, very much. So let's talk about your other incredible poster here we have on screen. It's called The Remaining Few, and it's the Collins Foundation 25th Anniversary DVD. Let's talk about that. What is that about? It looks like a war type.
Collins Foundation actually is dedicated in some ways to preserving old airplanes, the bombers, for example, from World War II. And there's so few of them left, remaining, that are in one piece. And the Collins Foundation not only keeps an amount of them, but people once a year can come and take a flight on them somewhere. They have pilots on their staff that will fly people to local and national destinations on these very old planes. And there's very few of them, as I say, left. So Robert Pelt, my partner, felt compelled to make a documentary about them. In fact, one was just lost a little over a year ago, and it was a pilot that Robert knew, that was part of the Collins Foundation. So it was in the news. It was very sad, but in some ways, one of the saddest things too is the loss of that plane, because there's just a handful left in the world.
This is so important because it pertains to history and our country, and the great respect for our military. I wanted to ask you, is the spruce goose included in that collection?
No, not part of our work. It isn't. Although I've personally seen it on more than one occasion when it was in Long Beach, California, adjacent to the Queen Mary, before it went, I believe, to Oregon, is where it is now.
Yeah.
That's a phenomenal plane. But no, this was specifically about the B-24 bombers, I believe.
Okay.
Was really his focus of interest. And some of the people, such as Jimmy Stewart, who taught people how to fly it in World War II and flew in World War II, which a lot of people are unaware of, when they think of him as It's a Wonderful Life or whatever. And he was a terrific actor, certainly. Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, but he was a pilot. And yeah.
This is fascinating that you mentioned Jimmy Stewart as a pilot, because I know Dina Martin, who I interviewed, the daughter of Dean Martin, she is a pilot. And there are a few other celebrities who are pilots and have achieved their pilot's license. So
yeah, and fly jets, such as John Travolta, who flies a jet. Yeah.
Yeah, I think also, is it Justine Bateman, who's also got her pilot license? I'll have to check on that. I think I did read that.
Sure, but Angelina Jolie, of course.
Yes.
Yeah. Mhm.
Amazing, amazing. So this is fascinating. So I love things that have to do with aeronautics and flying. And so is this the remaining few? This is a completed project, right,
Yes,
Nancy?
yes,
Is
it
it,
is.
is it being seen or shown at film festivals? How can people
No, it has
watch it?
already had its lifespan. Uh,
Okay.
and it's already, it's sold at the Collins Foundation as well. But yeah, it's kind of like had its life, and it's
So
sort
how
of,
can people watch it now? If they wanted to check it out, how could they view
I
it?
think it might be available. I'm not sure, and I'm sorry I didn't check that out in advance,
No
but I think
problem.
you can probably access it through YouTube, or quite a bit of it anyway.
Great, great. All right. Well, we wish the very best for the allotment because that's still in production, right? And so it's still
It's pre-production right now.
pre-production.
We have
Okay.
some major interest in it, and we have there's people both here and in Europe that have indicated an interest in it. So we're trying not to put any carts before the horse, but we're crossing our fingers. This is one of the projects that we have in motion right now, but it's further along. It's just right now, we thought we'd be filming, but we had COVID, and that made things really difficult. But we're committed to filming in Louisiana, and we found out that there's a very rare kind of tobacco that's grown there based on allotments for the growth of this particular tobacco. So that's where the idea of the name came from as well.
Wonderful. And so this goes along with the storyline and how exciting. I do want to say congratulations on the interest from Europe. And we are super excited for you. It sounds wonderful. And I think, I think things are going to really start happening for you, and keep us posted, okay, Nancy, on it, because it's super fun to hear about the development of a great project like this. So thank you so much for being here and sharing this with us. And I also did want to mention that I wanted to talk about TIFF because I'm just so proud of you, TIIFF, the Tennessee International Indie Film Festival. And you can get in contact with Nancy at festivaldirector@tiiff.org. Is that right, Nancy?
Yes, ma'am. I'd be happy to respond to anyone who reached out.
Okay, so anyone is available to submit for this year. Is that right? For the
No, this year is finished, Sat. I mean,
Oh,
we're excited. We have 85 films. It's August 1st through August 6th, 2023 in Franklin, Tennessee at the historic old Franklin Theater that was renovated and repurposed back into a movie theater just about 10 or so years ago. And it's really, really beautiful. And we've had just all kinds of things there. This is the first time we've had a 6-day film festival there. So we're really excited. Last year we were at Worldwide Stages, which is a brand new film studio in Tennessee. It's 330,000 square feet of production space, if you can imagine. But it was a little south of here. It was about 15 minutes south of Franklin. And to some people, that was like the other side of the earth. So we decided to come back into Franklin, and we're excited to do so when we made a determination and found out that it's the 100th anniversary of the first Hollywood film ever made in Tennessee. Really exciting. It was a Metro Pictures. And as you know, I'm sure Metro became Metro Goldwyn Mayer. So it was a very big deal in 1923 to have a Metro Pictures. And the gentleman who made the film, his name was Alan Hulabar, and he was a protege of D.W. Griffith, who made the first sweeping film. Because when you think of Birth of a Nation, whatever you think of the content, it was still the first sweeping kind of David Leany kind of movie, right? And in 1923, this was going to be sort of a sweeping saga as well. It was called The Human Mill. It was about the Battle of Franklin, and thousands of extras showed up from all over Franklin and all over surrounding Middle Tennessee to be a part of this film. It was a really big deal. And in fact, the camera, the DP, went on to be a really well known in television, and he all the way up until 1964 he was the go-to guy for camera work, so that's pretty exciting.
Wow.
And this, the most important thing to me, besides that it was filmed in Franklin right here, is that people really don't remember after that, because of country music, which we love, of course, and athletics, film dropped down underneath the bubble. And the night in 1927, the Bristol Sessions, which was up in Bristol, Tennessee, where the Carter family first recorded their music, that was 4 years after the first film. So it's kind of exciting to keep the legacy of film going on.
I love this so much. I love film history, like what you just shared. Thank you so much, because I appreciate that so much. It's yes, I remember MGM, and it's still here a little bit in the form of Sony, right? MGM Sony, is that right? Yeah. So, but I love old Hollywood, and I love all the classic black and white films. And congratulations, Nancy. 85, was that the allotment? You couldn't take any more? Did you just cut it off at that point, or did you? Or tell us about
No, it was
that.
just that it was that, you know, you take the films that you get in and then you plan the hours that you have every day to be in the theater. And we absolutely reached the limit of what we could handle in 6 days. Because on opening night, we only have two films. Filmmakers come in, we have two feature films. We have a film called Facing the Laughter about the life of Minnie Pearl. And
Ooh.
Minnie Pearl, you know, who was she was a philanthropist. She was extremely wealthy. She came from a wealthy family. She was buried actually in Franklin, Tennessee, although Nashville claims her, obviously. But when she dedicated an entire wing, which is called the named after her, the Sarah Cannon Breast Center is in Sarah Cannon is Minnie Pearl's name. So this film's about her life, and it's a great, terrific documentary. And the other documentary is about the life of Gianni Versace, told by a Versace model who modeled for Versace for more than 12 years. And now he's at SAG, he's PGA, he's won 2 Emmy Awards, so he's had a big career. And he decided, he'd been thinking about it for years and years, to make this film about the man he knew. It's not about his murder or the salacious news, it's about the man that he knew in their relationships.
How beautiful. And so it should be that way, with so much love and respect. I'm excited to hear more about that. And Nancy, this is just so incredible to me. I want to congratulate you again. There's just so many great things that are happening. I do want to also mention this that's on the second screen now. This is the new poster that I believe one of your interns designed. Isn't it beautiful?
Yeah, I'm so proud of her. She's a senior this year at SCAD, which is really well known on the East Coast. It's the Savannah College of Art and Design. And she's actually going to school to become a storyboard artist. It's called sequential art that she's doing, but I
Wow.
think she has a phenomenal taste, and creating those film strips, the colored film strips there, was such a beautiful idea, because our actual logo is multicolored, and I think she captured the essence of what we wanted. It's our 7th year, it's the 100th anniversary of film in Tennessee, so we feel like she really was able to capture the essence of that.
Incredible. I love the colors, and I believe so. I think she did a phenomenal job. And it also has at the base, it has your logo, your TIFF logo, which is wonderful. And boy, you sure know how to pick them, Nancy. You're really, really good at picking good people to work with. And I love this so much. Now, I want to talk about how this came about, how you founded the TIFF, because it's incredible to me, and I admire you so much. And I also want to ask you your favorite movies, and let's talk a little bit about that. So first of all, um, how did you make this? You did this all yourself, the Tennessee International Indie Film Festival
Yeah.
7 years ago. How did
Uh-huh.
it start? Tell us about the legacy.
Well, that's fairly easy. As I traveled around, because I would be invited to speak at different things. I've spoken at the Sundance Film Festival on the independent film movie panels there. I've spoken at the Toronto Film Festival on the independent movie panels that Raindance had sponsored. And then I speak at Sundance, I speak at Cannes. Last year, I spoke in the Israeli Pavilion with Women in Film and Television International. I was the vice president of Women in Film and Television International, and I was on the board, thank you, for 6 years. And through those associations and all these phenomenal women and men as well, filmmakers from around the world that I would meet through that, who were always talking about loving the film festival format as a way to introduce their products to the marketplace, and B, create and build a fan base of people who had a chance within a film festival. And this even was before there was so much emphasis on Netflix and Hulu and that. So if their film didn't get purchased by Netflix or Hulu, it was just done after festival. So the festival becomes a place as a must stop for lots of different filmmakers. There's lots of good reasons. I always think of the film Whiplash. Whiplash was bought at Sundance, and it was a short film, if you can believe it.
Wow.
And the film house came to the filmmaker and said, "We really like this, but we think it should be a feature." And he was like, "Here's the script," because his short film was more of a proof of concept. They loved everything. They kept everything about it, but they replaced the young drummer with Miles Teller because they felt that they needed a stronger young person to against J.K. Simmons to have that relationship work. But it came from a film festival. It was bought at a film festival. That's another reason that you want to find a film. A film I picked up last year at Sundance, Slam Dance, excuse me, is called starring Jerry as himself. That won Best Actor. And for a documentary type film, that's pretty amazing to have a Best Actor. When Best Actor, audience favorite, and Best Documentary Film. So it was a huge success, and it was already purchased by Visit Films,
Oh,
and
wow.
Visit is allowing us to have it at our film festival this year. And I have no doubt that it'll be up in the winning category because it's just so special. So in any case, meeting all these people that I met, AJ, I decided that gee, where was this going to happen? Where were these films going to go? Certainly, I'd been involved with the Nashville Film Festival for a while as one of the previewers of films where we would preview and judge them, and then they would get coalesced into a smaller group. And I'd come back to Franklin, which is, by the way, 17 miles south of Nashville. So not on the other side of the earth, but I'd mention to people at social gatherings, oh, blah, 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 Nashville Film Festival. And invariably, someone would say to me, Nashville has a film festival? And I said, okay, right there, I'm being led. The universe is putting me here, and I need to create this festival. So the very first year, I called favors in from all over the world, from filmmaking friends of mine, from the international short competition that was created by International Women in Film. And that's how I made up the first year of films. And from then on, it's just blown up. From, I think the first festival, we had like 25 films. Yeah, and a lot of those had been through Women in Film. So I maintain those relationships, Women in Film International, people from the board, and people that I've met that have really great significant positions in the industry have continued to return and be part of my panel, which is called The Female Gaze, that I have every year, which is a check-in with women around the world as to what they see as the temperature of women in the industry today.
This is fabulous. And I love every word that you're saying. It inspires my heart and brings so much joy to me. And Nancy, this is amazing. You are amazing. And Nancy, how does it feel to have exponentially grown and gotten bigger and better each year? Does it bring gladness to your heart?
It brings me a lot of joy and gladness, but it also just humbles me. I feel so honored that these people submit their films to our festival, which means this part of themselves, and sometimes it's a passion project, but they give us these films and allow us to bring them to the public. It's a real honor. After the films are chosen by my judges, which by the way are around the world, when it comes at the end, I watch every single film, every ones that they're on the fence about, and ones that they've chosen, so that I, even though I believe in all these people, they'll call and they'll say, "Oh my God, you've got to see this," and I will then watch the film. So I know every film, every filmmaker that's coming. I'm excited to say, and it's an honor. It's just a humbling honor to be able to do this. I got to tell you.
I love your heart. I absolutely love your heart so much and your beautiful spirit, Nancy. And I have a question. When you watch these wonderful films, do you watch it eating popcorn and Twizzlers or licorice? Tell us how.
Sometimes it's with an Aperol spritz, you know, and sometimes it's with a glass of iced tea, and sometimes with a cup of coffee, but not usually with popcorn. I,
Okay.
that's not that isn't something that I do, but certainly I love to have either a cup of coffee, glass of tea, or a little cocktail.
Okay, sounds wonderful. I only mention that because I do love popcorn myself
Oh,
and with butter. And
oh,
I hope that's okay to say. And then I of course, Twizzlers is or Red Vines is a Hollywood theater. Um,
staple.
yeah, isn't it at the candy counter? There it is. There's the
Yeah,
Twizzlers, the Red
yeah,
Vines.
yeah.
So so I had to
Yeah,
mention.
no, no, I can for sure see that. I do get really engrossed in films. I absolutely love film, and I think that that's a lot of it. And then, somebody will tell me to watch something, and I'll watch it. And if I really like a filmmaker, I'll go back and search for the rest of their films that they've got out and see what they're up to. And I like to follow people who've been in our festival. And sometimes we have return filmmakers, and that's really exciting.
This is
But yeah, I'm
wonderful.
watching films just about every day, and I use it as a diversion from, if I'm working on income taxes or I'm working on something else, I use it. And I'm also, president of the Williamson County Cultural Arts Commission, and so I put on art gallery type showing every 6 weeks with different local artists.
Oh, wonderful.
Well, yeah, it's so much fun. And through that, I've been able to raise money for the film festival. So
Incredible.
it's all
Incredible. So,
intertwined.
so if we attended, would we buy a ticket and then wait in line? And do you have refreshments? Do you have like junior mints at the the counter there for people to buy and watch? Tell us,
Absolutely. We've got
tell,
little popcorn we have.
you have
So
popcorn?
yeah, we have popcorn. And I have we do that all the time. And we also have, there's alcohol. We've got some really nice sponsors. We have Tito's Handmade Vodka, who's been a sponsor through every year. And this year we have somebody interesting. Actually, you're out of LA, which is the San Antonio Winery is by the Riboli family. And the Riboli family, who has terrific Italian food, by the way, the Mama Rosa. And they also have the Maddalena wines and the Stella Rosa wines are part of their portfolio, and they're supporting our festival. And then I don't know if you know who Kix Brooks is. He was Brooks and Dunn. They were a country western group.
Yes, yes.
Kix Brooks has a winery just down the street from us, about 10 minutes from here,
Oh my,
and it's called the Arrington Winery, and they have been a supporter since the beginning with us as well. So we try to make sure that our audiences, are entertained. We have great performances. We have a guy who's just making a television show called The Heirs of Country Music. And these are second and third generation of original people, like, for example, John Carter Cash, who's,
oh,
the son of June Carter and Johnny Cash. He's one of the people that's a part of this television show. And all these other people, the granddaughter of Kitty Wells. Before I came here to Tennessee, I sadly knew nothing about the art form past Willie Nelson. And so we've learned a lot. I listened to Susan Campbell, who's Glenn Campbell's daughter. When
wow.
she sings By the Time I Get to Phoenix, it's phenomenal.
Oh,
And so one of them, who's a lad named Sweepy Walker, he's the grandson of a really famous country music star who, when he came from Texas, Willie Nelson followed him about 6 months later and lived on their couch for quite a few months until he got settled. And the greatest story in the world is about how uh, Willie Nelson had written a song for Billy Walker, and they were in the studio recording it as a Texas two-step, which is really snappy. And they just didn't like where it was headed, and so they went to lunch. And this female singer who they know was in there, and she started playing around with the song. When they came back, she changed the timing and everything. And when she sang it, what happened was Willie Nelson looked at Billy Walker and said, "First of all, Patsy Cline." It's Patsy Cline. And when she wants to sing your song, and the song was crazy.
wow. Oh my gosh.
Isn't that a great story?
That's a wonderful story. And those things behind the scenes, all of that coming together to
Yeah.
make that, everybody knows that song. Wow, that's such a famous song. And to
Yeah,
have that happen, that was meant to be, wouldn't you say so, Nan?
absolutely. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, yeah. Because when she sang it, they knew that she had redone the timing and everything. They knew that it was going to be her song. That was it.
Yes. And her
There's no
voice,
fighting.
it's her voice is what made it what
Oh
it
my
is
gosh, yeah.
today. Yeah,
Yeah.
wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's so fascinating. And so you really built up great relationships in the art and the music and the film industry there in Franklin, Tennessee. And this is phenomenal. Now, let me ask you this. When you were growing up, did your mom and dad take you to the theater to watch the movies?
All the time.
Okay. So
All the
do you have some fun memories from those times or favorite movies you'd like to share with us?
time. Sure, I do. One that I loved deeply growing up, which is kind of odd, but it was we saw a lot of international film too, because my father was a mathematical engineering graduate from Berkeley,
Oh,
wanted us to see international films too. So there was a film I really loved called The Investigation of a Criminal Above Suspicion, which was about a corrupt police officer. So he was above suspicion, right? Oh, it was a really phenomenally interesting film made by some incredible, director. And then, of course, I loved the Peter Sellers movies so much growing up. And
oh,
my first job in the film industry, of course, was working for the show Grizzly Adams. And yeah,
what did you do?
I started out there. So they had an ad that they were looking for people to work for the company. And it was up in Park City, and I was at school in Salt Lake City. I was a sophomore in college, and that was my last time in college because I decided this was the career path that I wanted. And I started out as a film runner. So I had the very lowest job on the totem pole, but I got to take really interesting people to set every day. And a couple of times they had me take the film from the set to the airport, and then I flew it to Hollywood and would wait at Technicolor for the film to be processed overnight so I could bring the dailies back to Park City the next day because they didn't see them. Yeah, it was really great fun. And I felt really important. But
Amazing.
I'm glad I started at the bottom
Yeah.
because I really had a chance to learn on the way up.
Incredible, Nancy. And so, Nancy, would you get on the plane then? Would they buy the ticket for you and you
Yeah,
get on?
they bought the ticket, and I went to LA, and I went to Technicolor, which was up kind of by Universal Studios, kind of that area. And I would wait, or I would get a really, small room somewhere, so I could go back first thing in the morning. But they literally processed overnight. It was ready by 6 a.m. and I flew back to Salt Lake and I drove it up to set. It was very exciting. And I knew that it was really important that I had that because it wasn't digital. These were cans of film. So it was really important to get them back in one piece. And
Wow, that was such an important role that you played, that job. And they're heavy, those. Sometimes some of them are heavy, right? The cans with
they
the
were. They were heavy. But I'll
yeah.
tell you another funny bit about that is when I was speaking at Sundance about 5 years ago on a panel that we had out at Sun Studios there in Park City. Now I think it's called Park City Studios. But the man that was in charge of the studios, who was also at one point the film commissioner for the state of Utah, his name was Marshall Moore. And we remembered things from back in the Grizzly Adams days. And I was sitting next to a man whose office was right outside, right inside where I sat on a stool outside as a runner. And he was, his office, he did ADR and Foley. So
Wow.
we talked and laughed about that. And, that was a million years ago. But people, it's a small world. And you know what I'm saying here. People that know people that know people,
Yes,
it's a small world.
it is. And it's a wonderful world too. And I'm so glad to be a part of it and to know you. And this is so, like I said, I'm enjoying this so much. And Nancy, my other question to you is, how has it changed over the last 7 years? What have you seen the greatest change in um, for for the film festival?
Well, I think that as word gets out, which has to do with also people's comments. It's really funny, but we gather the films. We used to gather them through Without a Box and Film Freeway. And then a few years back, Without a Box was without a website and without a company. And so it's now all Film Freeway for us.
Wow.
But people make remarks after your festival, and that's really key for other filmmakers coming in. They'll look at and see what people have said about your festival, oftentimes before they enter. So it's really important to have a really good reputation, with that. And I read every one of them. And I'm really glad they're all good. But, every once in a while, I expect in the future we might have somebody that has a question. And then, of course, I would get in touch with them and I would
Mhm.
try to find out and see if I could make it better. But I think it's really important that you try to keep up your reputation. I think people notice that. So that I've noticed is that people say, I read about your festival. I got a letter yesterday from somebody, a filmmaker, that said, I read about your festival, which is why I wanted to enter your festival. And I'm really grateful that you've chosen me to be a part of it. And I'm coming. And we've got filmmakers that have come from Sweden and are coming from the UK and have come from Canada. Our president of our jury, Jake Bergen, he's from Vancouver, Canada.
That's incredible.
I think our reputation is getting out there so that people want to participate.
Yes, yes. And this is wonderful news too. I love hearing this. How can people, it's August 1st through the 6th, 2023. How can people, do they go to the website and then do they buy a ticket? What's the
They
process?
can buy a ticket that way. We're not up yet. I've just completed yesterday with the curator of our festival. We've just completed the actual scheduling. And now we'll get that, that'll be up by Monday. And then the film festival, the sales of the tickets will be available through the Franklin Theater, and they can buy those online or at the box office, and that will be next week. And so they can do that, and they can always write me if they have any questions about it. And then we will reopen our festival for 2024, the 1st of December. So on December 1st, people can be submitting for our next festival.
On Film Freeway, is that right, Nancy?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, wonderful. And then Nancy, also I wanted to ask you, what are some of your favorite films? Can you share with us what ones that you love that you can watch again and again?
Oh, wow. There's just so many films that I watch again and again. So again, like my family, there's a lot of international filmmakers that I love and appreciate. So I am always love to watch French films. I speak French, and so I really love to catch up with, what, good films there are out there in a currently. And then I actually love westerns, so I do love a lot of Clint Eastwood type movies.
Me too.
I really, I love that kind of excitement. I mean, I've been known to binge watch Hogan's Heroes, for God's sake, because I love the structure of how that TV show is done. If
Wasn't
you
it great?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, if you look at it, it's not really actually a 3-act structure. It's sometimes more closer to a 5-act, the way that they do it and bring the things out. But the way they're able to unfold their stories, I mean, I really love it. So late at night, I'm known to do that. And I'm a huge classic movie fan. I love The Little Foxes. I just love that with Betty Davis.
Oh, yeah.
My gosh, it's one of my absolute, favorite films. I love Vivian Leigh. There's so many people that, they had so much more to memorize in those days. They didn't
Yes.
they had to memorize it. They didn't have cue cards or any of that. And so it was different.
Yes.
I admire their talent, and you look at Elizabeth Taylor and Cleopatra, or
Oh,
she had, I mean, hundreds of pages of dialogue to memorize.
I
People,
love that.
they had 3-month shoots. Doesn't matter. People like Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor, they were on every time the camera was on. They were on, which is hugely instructive, for others. I mean, I enjoy comedy, but it's not the first thing that I would reach for.
Yes, yes, I agree with you 100%. I loved Elizabeth Taylor in Cleopatra. She was absolutely exquisite and beautiful. And you mentioned a few moments ago about Peter Sellers. Are you fond of the Pink Panther?
The Pink Panther, of course, but one of the first ones that really imprinted on me was the film The Party. And then the film, which I can't think of the name of, where he actually became president, even though he didn't want to be. Oh gosh, I have to look that up. I can't remember.
Okay,
His
I'll
name
give
was Chauncey in the film.
his name was Chauncey.
I'm gonna look
Okay.
it up.
We can look it up. And I just want to say, while you're looking that up, Nancy, I'm going to read the second screen here. The Tennesse International Indie Film Festival will be celebrating 100 years of film in Tennessee this year. Very exciting. So get your ticket August 1st through 6th, 2023 at the historic Franklin Theater. And you can contact Nancy at festivaldirector@tiiff.org. Over to you, Nancy.
The film was Being There,
Oh,
is what it was called.
yes, yes.
Such a lovely, thoughtful movie.
Oh
You
my
know,
gosh. I loved that. What an incredible, you're absolutely right. As film analysis, he portrayed such an incredible character, and And I can watch that again and again. There's
Mhm.
there's there's certain actors in your life when you watch in a movie that can take a part and make it so meaningful and significant in their own way. And you mentioned that with Elizabeth Taylor, um,
Mhm.
and and he's also one of them. So yes, yes, this was a very poignant story
Mhm.
and timeless, really. So
Mhm.
tell us more.
I was just going to say that as far as a comedy is concerned, if it wasn't like The Party with Peter Sellers, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, I have seen that film like 100 times because the dialogue was so intellectually perfect. Michael Caine,
Yes. Oh my gosh.
just
Michael Caine.
gosh,
Oh, yeah.
so terrific. And he was, I think, in The Bridge on the River Kwai and all those World War II type films. But his total restraint and the dry way he delivered the lines in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels was beyond amazing. And I
Yes.
would not have loved it without him.
Yes, I agree. I agree. There's some wonderful, I used to watch with my dad, I used to watch TMC all the time because he loved that channel and so do I. And I loved Greta Garbo and just there's so many great movie stars from the movie studio era, the real Hollywood stars.
And Betty Davis, The Little Foxes was kind of her audition for, I understand from like TMZ or TMC, was that was like an audition for her for Gone with the Wind. And yeah.
Wow. Isn't that something? Yeah, I love this, talking about it so much. I could talk more and more about it. Gone with the Wind, Vivian Lee, right? And
Oh,
Clark
yeah.
Gable. I mean, also I want to talk about the productions. The productions back then, what do you think compared to today, Nancy?
Well, the point is there was no CGI. The point is that if they were setting up a set, they would buy, and they needed, say, the costumes for Gone with the Wind. They were brocades. They were, the money. Now, of course, they spend money on like Oscar de la Renta or whatever, but they had costume designers, Edith Head, and these people who made these fabulous costumes, and the set designers who by hand did things. I mean, the only person that could be considered semi contemporary was Vilmos Zsigmond, was such a fanatic about his camera work and so forth that they painted the leaves in the Deer Hunter and those opening scenes, with the wedding and everything. They literally painted the leaves to give him the look and the feel he was looking for, because texture was really important. And that texture in the film that you're looking for. And you go back to My Fair Lady. I mean, a stunningly beautiful film, right? I mean, the
Yeah.
costumes, Jiminy Christmas.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that being done today, because when people create budgets today, they want to allow for the least amount of money for the maximum amount of return. And I think that even though money was a concern back then, it was also really important to give a visual experience to the audience, because
Yes.
you didn't want the audience just for today. You wanted the audience to return. And I think today, when you think about the tentpole films of the Marvel Universe, for example, they're great and they appeal to people. But what's the biggest appeal is all of the CGI and all of that stuff flashing in your faces so that you can maintain the attention span of the flies, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. And movies like Carousel. Do you remember Carousel, the movie with Shirley Jones uh, and
Yes.
Gordon McRae, I believe? Is
Oh
that
my
right?
God, yes.
Right. So
Oh my God. And she went on to be Marion the librarian in The Music Man. I mean, come on.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I miss that because I know it was around, and I do respect Baz Luhrmann. He's done really great with some, The Showman That's a wonderful musical, but I do miss the musicals that they used to have turn them out, didn't they? MGM and all the studios. And now, excuse me, I'm so sorry. Now it's a rarity, but when it does come along, I definitely and thoroughly enjoy it. You know, if it's done well, like Baz Luhrmann, or you know, something like Burlesque, or, the movie with Cher, you know, that she did. So yeah, but there'll always be those great classics that we hold fond.
And they
Very
didn't pay them like they do today. They didn't pay the actors like that. When you're thinking of a $35 million paycheck for the actress, you have to give up something in set design and the type of and the costuming and things like that. You have to pull the money to pay for the A-list actor and actress. So it's really interesting. You know, in some of the movies, there was a couple of movies, I don't know who it was, but the people that worked for him, for Steven Soderbergh, they would work almost at scale in order to help him get the films made. But they
wow.
weren't going to pay the $50 million salaries because that's obscene.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I love this so much, talking about Hollywood, old Hollywood and new Hollywood, and how it is, and your wonderful film festival.
Thank
So,
you.
and Nancy, I'm so sorry, the time has gone so fast, but we're going to have to start wrapping it up. But I always ask, you know, or mostly I ask for heart messages, or what's on your heart, or if you'd like to share a shout out or acknowledgement to someone. So I'm going to do my heart message, and then I'm going to hand it over to you to do your heart message for this week. My heart message is always remember that you have within you the universe to do anything you want. It's really up to you. So don't agree with any of the naysayers, and don't give in to the fear. Remember, love, keep love in your heart, and reach for the stars. And you can, and nothing is impossible without your faith and your belief in yourself and the goodness of others. So that's my heart message for this week. And over to you, Nancy.
Wow, that's really nice. That's beautiful, in fact. Thank you for those thoughts. I think they're really important. I actually do talk to the people that are in my quote unquote tribe. And we talk about how if you keep love in your heart and you try to do good and you really try to approach people with a kind and loving heart, everything does fall into place. I don't think ambition is nearly as important as having a faith in yourself.
Yes.
If you have faith in yourself and you believe that you can try to help others to make a difference in the world, in their corner of the world, that's the stone and the ripple on the water, you know. Just takes one stone skipping across the water or the lake or the ocean, and it can change lives. I think the visual medium, I want to give a shout out to filmmakers and television makers, because the visual medium is so powerful and it can be used for such good. It can, whether it's documentary or narrative, it can be really change and transform someone's life. If that young girl hadn't been running down the road and been captured on film with the napalm that burned her clothes off of her body in Vietnam, we probably would have been in there for 10 more years. But the visual medium changed the hearts and minds of people. And and if that can be used in that way, it can be used for good. There is so much good in the world. Don't lose faith. That's my point. Keep faith and hope alive.
Oh, Nancy, thank you so much. Such a powerful and beautiful message from your heart. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for this time. And thank you for being a guest on our show. And Nancy, I wanted to say, you mentioned making a difference. You make a difference,
Oh my gosh.
Nancy. And we thank you, and we extend our heart and love to you. And I hope one day you'll come back again and be a guest on my show.
I
I would
hope so
love that.
too. Thank you so much. I'm honored. Thank you for letting me be a part of your hour. I appreciate you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. And here's the very best to a successful August 1 through August 6th film festival for you.
Thank
It's
you.
going to be fabulous. Good luck and best wishes to all
Many
the
blessings.
filmmakers
Thank you.
there. And it's going to be
Thank you.
wonderful.
Thank you.
So thank you. And until next time, au revoir, Nancy.